All right, I think we're live. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Anyone in the chat can hear me? Just push 1. Get cracking. This won't be long. All right, I got a confirmation. Thank you for the confirmation. And this is open chat number 46. SYSBM analysis. Just wanted to give my take because I got a lot of messages and a lot of emails, and I've been back and forth between the continent and here, and I haven't had a whole lot of time to really catch up with what's been going on. And now that I'm pretty caught up with what's going on, I want to give my take on this because a lot of people ask me my take, especially after going to the continent. We have to understand what SYSBM means in a nutshell. What is if you had to use one sentence to define what it means to save yourself, Black men. Save yourself, Black men, or SYSBM, as the acronym is spelled, means to save yourself first. Look out for your own interests first, Black men, right? And so from an intellectual standpoint, it's the advocacy for Black male agency. And the fact that you have so many people who are against this acronym means that there are a lot of people who are incongruent with the best interests of Black men on a global scale. So how can you have a conversation with these people about building a society that's supposed to be functional, like what I saw in Rwanda? There's no way that African Americans could ever get to the point where Rwanda is right now, right? Rwanda has 12 million people living in it. The population for ADOS, so to speak, is something like roughly 46 million. There's no way that you can stabilize Black America in the way that you could, that Paul Kagame, the high exalted, has been able to do on the continent. And so when we look at SYSBM, there's a lot of people who are against the best interests of Black men. They're always throwing out, interracial marriage. They're always throwing out, you're leaving, you're exiting, exile, right? They're always using that as a justification to suppress any further dialogue. And I have to ask, so what value does it serve for you to shut him down? Why is it when it comes to Black men looking out for their best interests and advocating for their own agency, suddenly you have a problem with it? We have to sit down and really evaluate who our true allies are. When I got to the continent, man, I got so much love over there from people, Nigerians, South Africans, Kenyans, Ugandans, so many Black people over there who came from different countries and different states were like, Mike, anytime you want to come through, come through. Here's my LinkedIn, here's my business card. Text me, hit me up on WhatsApp, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're looking out for your best interests. But in America, it's the opposite. You need to leave, you need to get out of here, go take a hike. You just hate women who hurt you. All of this smoke for SYSBM, but no smoke for these other niggas out here who ain't out there doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're tearing up the community. And I find this very interesting. All of this smoke for SYSBM, all of this smoke for an acronym, all of this smoke for brothers advocating for their own agency, and all of a sudden now, you got a problem with it, even though SYSBM has been around for years. Before I got to the continent, there were people saying there's no running water, there's no electricity, you know, people are living in mud huts. That was not the case when I got there. So there's a concerted agenda to suppress the reality outside of the community, to keep you confined to this sort of delusional state, and that you should somehow build, you know, a society here. You should actually build dilapidated environments in America for people who don't have your best interest. Where the fuck do they do this at? How is this even possible? How can anybody come to the conclusion that that's a great idea? If you think for 1 second that the 100 million guns that are legally owned in this country, 95% of them are owned by white males, you think you're gonna overthrow that demographic of people and establish this new world order onto and superimpose your views on these people? You're out of your fucking mind, man. You're setting these people up, you're setting a lot of black men up for failure. You're setting them up for failure, and you know it. And you're doing it at the behest of a woman. And so what happens in these discussions is that they talk about, you just want Becky, or you just want Ling Ling, or whatever sort of racial epithet that they can throw at you to define another group of women, that you want to live in another man's patriarchy. America is another man's patriarchy. If you do not control the governance of this state, you do not control the military apparatus, you do not control the economic functions of this country, the import, export, and civil services of this country, you are living in another man's patriarchy. What are you talking about? Now, I'm not going to go into the debate that happened last night. I'm just making the point. The ideas that some of these people have, you never see any smoke for the niggas who ain't doing shit with their life. Never. When I went to the continent, Rwanda was clean for miles. And these are black people running the country. Miles, clean. If you drop something on the floor, on the ground, there's a high probability you can eat that thing and not die. You can't do that in predominantly black neighborhoods in America. And so I hear these people always talking about, we need to build a black community, we need to build this, we need to build that. For who? A bunch of people who don't have the best interests of upwardly mobile black men? How does this make sense? How do you galvanize 30+% of your men who are college educated to take their resources and redistribute the earnings of these men to people who don't care about them, who don't have any respect for them? How does that make any sense? And what society has that ever worked? We cannot allow people who do not have our best interests to measure our masculinity and our manhood on the backs of people who don't have any respect for us. That's impossible. I bring up Rwanda because it's important that people understand they just went through a genocide, a civil war, 1 million people losing limbs and arms in their lives. And if you're not careful, you could end up in the same position in America, where people are getting butchered out here. When I was there, right, I didn't take any pictures of this, but I got there late at night. I got there like 2 o'clock in the morning, okay? They had black men on patrol with AK-47s and pickup trucks. okay? Think about that for a second. You get out of line, they'll pop you. No questions asked. You sell drugs, they're gonna pop you. There is no drug dealing over there. They will kill you immediately if they find out you're doing something like that. And you got people in the manosphere talking about those, those who have done that are street entrepreneurs. Really? Try explaining that to the Africans. I bet you they have a place for you. And what's been going on in the manosphere is that there's been a movement against the agency of Black men and their masculinity. And they think if they keep terrorizing you, that you'll be somehow compliant and fall in line for their agenda. And so when they bring up interracial marriage, and I'm not taking away anything from MBD, because I think that he has his perspective and we have ours. At least on this channel, we don't really talk too much about IR. I think that that's not important. I think what's important is the agency of Black men to be protected. And so these boundaries, these social boundaries that most other communities create, for their men, especially their most upwardly mobile men, we don't have that here. They have completely blitzkrieged their way into a social space called the manosphere, and have constantly terrorized anyone who does not fall in line with their agenda. And I say, how can you build a society that way? How can you build this sort of pseudo Black society with that sort of barbarism? To be so barbaric and tear down the demographic of men that you need to build a society doesn't make any sense. All this smoke for SYSBM, all this smoke for Kobe Bryant. We made it a policy here not even to talk about Kobe. The day he died, we were doing a live stream. We said, you know what? Pay our respects, next 30 seconds, and we're gonna move on. We're not even gonna bring him up. We're not gonna make any live streams about him. Let this brother rest in peace. He hadn't even been pulled out of the wreckage yet. And people were going in on him. People going in on T.I., over his daughter, protecting his own daughter, and you got people going in on him over that. People going in on Bill Cosby after what he's done for all the HBCUs. People going in on Robert F. Smith. People going in on Byron Allen. This is constant attack against Black men who stand for something. But no smoke for these other niggas out here who ain't doing shit. And these same people got the audacity to sit up here and say, we should all work together. Work with who? What are you talking about? You was never about anything to begin with, because when we go to your channel and we look at the uploads, there's nothing progressive about what you're talking about. 99% of the subscribers to the Black Brain Trust are actually males. We have very few females who follow us. And what's been going on here is that these other channels have had a large constituency of the opposite. And so they cater to their demographic. And so they're willing to throw the Black men under the bus in order to have the promise of some vajayjay. And they think that if they keep attacking SYSBM, that would somehow garner them some validation from women. And I'm saying to myself, if that's going to be the case, I don't want anything to do with what you're talking about. I don't think we have anything in common other than the fact that we're Black men. We don't have anything in common. You know, the movie Antoine Fisher, which is based on a true story, highlights the necessity for the acronym in itself. And there's so many people who are against it, either because they haven't seen the movie or because they don't care about it. The reality is Antoine Fisher, his experience typifies SYSBM. Okay. There's a book. Let me pull it up for you real quick, because I know there's a lot of people who may not read. Pull this up real quick. Share my screen. All this smoke for SYSBM, unbelievable. Here's the book right here by James Morton, and I think it's been forwarded by a couple of psychologists. And it's called Why He Hates You. How unreconciled maternal anger is destroying Black men and boys. This isn't us making this up. This has nothing to do with interracial marriage. There is a war being declared on the masculinity of Black men who stand for something. And these other niggas who don't stand for nothing, who get a lot of subscribers from the other side, don't necessarily understand the impact of what's about to happen. For those of you who have not read the book, you should actually buy the book. It's actually really good. I have the documentary, not the documentary, I have the DVD too, which is really good. Okay. How unreconciled maternal anger is destroying Black men and boys. This is written by psychologists. Okay. It's not just a book, it's a movement. James Morton is not in the manosphere, at least not anymore. He was initially, but he's not in the manosphere. How did he know all of this? How did he know all that? Nothing to do with interracial marriage, nothing to do with Becky, nothing to do with any of that type of stuff. If you don't read and you don't understand and you're not really on the ground, boots on the ground. I put boots on the ground in Africa for a reason. So I could find out what I didn't know. And what I found was a thriving Black community over there. And all these people on here who talk about building a Black community and this and that, and when Kobe dies, you know, his wealth is not going to go to the Black community. When has that ever happened? When the dope boys were running the streets in the 80s and 90s, their money never went back to the Black community either. But nobody seems to have a problem with that. No smoke for them though, but plenty of smoke for upwardly mobile Black men who speak different languages. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. So we have to be more diligent at defining the acronym. And we have to run our own anti-defamation program because we can't allow these people to continuously attack us. We can't allow that to happen anymore. We have to make it, draw the line in the sand, because there was no boundaries before. That's why we have the manospheres in chaos right now. We have to draw the line in the sand. You know, all this talk about 21 conventions and people meeting up. How are you going to meet up with people who don't have your best interests? What sense does that make? Most of us on here are licensed to carry. You come to a convention with just a little bit of smoke, man, that could be fatal. All over an acronym. All over an acronym. But, you know, I don't want to spend too much time on here, man. I just wanted to really get this out here because people have been hitting me up all week about, SYSBM. What do I think about that? I've been talking about this probably since December. People have been asking me about this, and I thought we had a clear, concise perspective on SYSBM, but it sounds to me that everybody has their own interpretation of what SYSBM is, but the basis for SYSBM, which is a philosophy, man, a system of principles, man. The main principle is the advocacy for Black male agency, man. Save yourself first. Look out for your own best interest first. Somehow, some way, this has been turned into a hate, perceived as a hate movement. How can it be a hate movement? There's nothing hateful in it. Looking out for your best, if looking out for your best interest first as a Black man is considered to be hateful, then it's no wonder why we have so many bitch ass niggas in the manosphere. It's no wonder. Let me see if I can find it, because I see people are talking, man. Let me see if I can find it. We've been talking about this for a minute. Let me just share my screen real quick. Okay, what Black men think. Okay. What's been going on has been intellectual discussion, dialogue at a deeper level rather than the surface. And what people don't like is the idea that Black men could think for themselves. And so the documentary, What Black Men Think, opened my mind to that this is a growing issue, that it's not just on YouTube. It's not just on social media. There's a conversation happening behind the scenes that is much deeper than interracial marriage. When you take into consideration, Black men are leaving the Democratic Party in spurts, okay? Trump got more support from Black men than Mitt Romney did in 2012. That's a problem, okay? He may get more support this time around. But if the trends keeps continuing, you're gonna have a divided house. Take into consideration that the Christian church is losing its Black male constituency rate. They're either going to Islam or they're going agnostic, right? Or atheist, for that matter. When you have the two major institutions in your community, Black men leaving those institutions, that's a problem. You cannot galvanize the most critical base of your community if they're leaving. Okay? It's a very good documentary. You all should actually buy it and watch it. And so a lot of these people, man, got a whole lot of smoke for an acronym, got a whole lot of smoke for thinking Black men. And by the way, that documentary was produced in 2007, okay? It was produced in 2007. That was well over 10 years ago. So these discussions have been happening well over a decade, way before Obama even came into office. So all these new people jumping on the bandwagon, making live streams and videos and attacks on the acronym, don't realize you're late to the party, fam. You're way late to the party. You're trying to convince the most critical base of your community to get slaughtered at the behest of the gynocracy. How can you look yourself in the mirror every day and call yourself a man and offer that sort of advice? How does that work? And yet you want to measure the masculinity of the men who follow a philosophy or who choose to follow a philosophy by determining whether or not he wants to be between the legs of another group of women. When I traveled to the continent, I had no interest in dating anything like that. I came over there to put boots on the ground and figure out what's going on. And what I found was a utopia, a Black utopia, literally. Clean environments, clean air, clean food, organic food. Well-spoken women, women who speak 5, 6 different languages: Swahili, English, French, Italian, Portuguese, Creole. Women walking around with baskets on their head, coming from the market. Their toes are done, feet look impeccable. Nails are done, makeup on their face, well-spoken. Good morning, my brother, how are you? Oh, good morning, sister, how are you doing? You need some help with that? No, I have it, thank you. All the stuff that these guys talk about, these people talk about building this sort of Black community, it already exists somewhere else. And the reason why it's not here is because the people who do the most talking had the very least to offer. You saw dark-skinned women, you saw light-skinned women, brown-skinned women. There was no colorism over there. There was no such thing as beta males. Every man was an alpha in his own right. You didn't have to worry about a dude stepping on your sneakers, scuff your sneakers, he wants to fight you. There was no such thing as that over there. There was no such thing as a woman cursing you out because you didn't defeat white supremacy. No such thing. There was no such thing as that. Healthy people, I didn't see a whole lot of overweight people at all. I didn't see a whole lot of people smoking. Another thing is, rarely ever did I hear anyone curse, male or female. They just don't do that. There's just an order of conduct that they follow and they abide by. That's a community. And they were very welcoming, accommodating. I needed a place to stay when I was leaving, because I had missed my flight. And several people that I did not know offered me to stay at their house. Never met these people for more than 30 minutes. My brother, I have a spare room that you can sleep at until the morning when your flight comes. You're more than welcome to come. And so I don't see that here. I see people getting torn down, brothers who have themselves together, being told you're a lame, you're an educated lame. There's no such thing as an educated lame in Africa. The intelligentsia class of men are highly regarded and highly protected. And the African woman, for all intents and purposes, is a sapiosexual. The more you know, the more intellectual you are, the more they're going to follow you around. Women will throw their panties at you if they find out you're a highly upwardly mobile black man, highly intelligent. You can write code. You can speak several languages. What? You're a hot ticket to them. Over here, it's not the same, bro. Swag rules the day here. A whole bunch of cats running around, selling game to people. If you just did this, if you just did that, then she would respect you. No sort of advice or mentorship or advocacy about your own agency. Just a bunch of people talking about how many women you can lay down in a single day. And they get a whole lot of airtime on different channels. And I say, if this is supposed to be the most progressive class, then what are we talking about here? Where's the infrastructure? Where's the pediatric centers? I don't see any of these dope boys from the 90s with their duffel bags of money, redistributing that money to the community. I don't see them doing that, but you expect forward-thinking, upwardly mobile black men to redistribute their family wealth to a community that has no respect for them. Unfucking believable. It's unbelievable, man. So they're allowed and they're exempt from sharing their resources, but everybody else who went to Division I, Division II, Division III, Division IV schools are supposed to share their wealth with everybody else, especially with people who don't have any respect for them. Let's just think about this for a second. A Division I school, man, Harvard, Yale, any of these schools, you're paying 6 figures to go to these schools, period. I don't care what you major in. Not uncommon for an Ivy League or Division I school person to walk away with $150,000 of student loan debt if they didn't get a scholarship. You want these people who earn good grades throughout their tenure to work X amount of years to save their wealth and give it to the very people who want to take them down. How does that make any sense? How does that make any sense? Well, you know what I'm saying, man? You know, when he died, man, that money's just gonna go somewhere else. Really? Let's look at child support. It was estimated that black men pay something like $1 billion in child support per year in this country. For all the, you know, the mothers who take the child support, where's all this money going? Is it going to the community or is it going into their own coffers? $1 billion a year is a lot of money, man. But you never hear no smoke for those people who spend that money. It's always smoke for the people who support an acronym that looks out for their best interest, that tells you look out for your best interest. Just a whole lot of smoke for them. No smoke for anybody else, though. No smoke for the people who take those SSI checks and subsidize housing. We had a case here at Harvard where a black girl who came on a full scholarship brought a dope boy on campus and he ended up killing somebody. But these people will tell you that you're jealous of them because you criticize them. Okay? Only in Black America can something like that be possible, and they'll blame somebody else for it. okay? The Black community has a brain drain, and you have these people who are relentless in their attacks and their assaults on the forward-thinking, upwardly mobile brothers. When I was there on the continent, I mean, some of y'all hold me in high regard in terms of technical aptitude and smartness and things of that nature, and I appreciate that. But there's people over there who can run circles around me, okay? Black men who can run circles around me. They're not letting their people go like that. Those people who got educated in the West, who went to London, School of Economics, and so on and so forth, have come back to the continent and said, we're coming here to rebuild. And so they opened up special platforms and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the sort of conversations that they're having. But here, in the manosphere, people aren't having those conversations. No, they're too busy talking about whether or not you're trying to get with Becky or Mei Ling or whatever sort of disgusting sort of term they want to use to describe other groups of women and your proximity to them. And you're living in another man's patriarchy. Last time I checked, Black men don't control the governance of this country, the security of militarization of this country, nor do they control the civic and economic posture of this country. For all intents and purposes, if you don't control the Constitution or the import and export of goods, nor do you control the military apparatus, you're living in another man's patriarchy, whether you like it or not. If you think you're going to overthrow those systems of power, you're setting a lot of Black men up for failure. Why would you want to do something like that? Because you don't care. You don't care about Black men who can think for themselves. You hate those types of men. But I understand why you hate them, because she hates them. And so you speak for her. And so she leverages your masculinity as a bulwark against thinking Black men, because she can't take them on physically herself. So she sends you in there as the top goon to try to take down brothers. And you fell for it. By any sort of statute on the books, that's treason. You betrayed the brotherhood for the promise of some wet. And now that you haven't gotten it, you want to come back and say, oh, well, I think brothers should work together. With who? Not you. You can't be worked with. You're compromised. You jumped out of the window for a group of people who won't walk out the door for you. And so you're angry at the acronyms, you're angry at the hashtags, you're angry at the brothers, got a lot of smoke. But what you cooking with? We were talking about infrastructure development since the inception of Black Brain Trust. We always talked about that. The BAIO stands for Black African Infrastructure Organization. That's their whole entire motto. They've been talking about that since years now. They've been talking about that, and they got operations on the ground. The people who have been really involved in the discussions about building the Black community have already put boots on the ground. But the same people who want to attack SYSBM don't have any other smoke for anybody else, and they don't have any sort of agenda that you can follow. No sort of blueprint. Okay? Whole lot of smoke for an acronym, and the word of the day is derelict. You derelict this, you derelict that. Meanwhile, some of these niggas live in the whitest states in America. How is that possible? What black people are you working with? Okay. I went to a predominantly black country and saw how things are running over there. There were no black men laid up with Becky's. There was no such thing as that over there. All right, man, I think that I've been going long enough. I did not want to take up a whole lot of time. I probably should have just did this as a video. I know people have been asking me for a minute, you know, when are you going to start talking about this? I said, I don't really want to get into all this. Got some other things that we've been talking about doing, and we didn't want to really muddy the waters. Anyways, see if anybody else wants to, let me see if anybody wants to get on. Nah, I think we're good, man. We can get up out of here, man. All right, shalom, everyone.